What if an entire civilization simply disappeared and no one noticed for 3,000 years? Not buried in legend, not whispered in myth, just gone swallowed by sand or sea, waiting beneath the surface, while the world moved on without it. Archaeology used to be about digging carefully through dirt. Now, it's about satellites, sonar, and the unsettling realization that we've been standing on top of answers the entire time. Egypt's desert southwest of Alexandria holds a name most people have never heard: Thonis Heracleion. For centuries, it existed only in ancient texts, a grand port city where Greek traders arrived, where temples rose along canals, where the god Amun was celebrated in elaborate ceremony. Scholars assumed it was fiction. Then, in the year 2000, underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio began scanning the seafloor of Abukir Bay with sub-bottom profilers. What emerged from the data stopped his team cold. Colossal statues, intact sphinxes, hundreds of anchors, over 60 ancient shipwrecks arranged in what had clearly once been a functioning harbor. The city hadn't crumbled slowly over centuries. Evidence suggests it sank rapidly, possibly within decades, due to a combination of earthquakes, tidal waves, and the liquefaction they triggered. An entire metropolis, still largely intact, lying roughly 10 meters below the Mediterranean surface. The scale of what was preserved down there raises a question that's difficult to shake. How many others did we simply stop looking for? That question pulls us east to the coast of India, where the Gulf of Khambhat holds something that rewrote assumptions about South Asian prehistory. In 2001, India's National Institute of Ocean Technology announced the discovery of geometric structures on the seafloor, what appeared to be grid-like arrangements, walls, and what some analysts described as man-made construction. Carbon dating of a wood sample dredged from the area produced a figure of approximately 9,500 years, though critics note the sample could not be conclusively tied to the structures themselves. If the dating holds, that would predate the oldest known cities by several thousand years. The evidence remains inconclusive, yet it suggests a settlement of significant scale once existed before the bay flooded at the end of the last ice age. The scientific community remains divided. But the geometry of what was found doesn't dissolve simply because it's inconvenient. Cities built before writing, before the wheel, before anything we thought we knew about organized civilization. The implications sit uncomfortable and unresolved. And then there is Pavlopetri, located off the southern coast of Greece. It was first identified in 1967, making it one of the earliest known submerged cities. But it wasn't until 2009 when a team from the University of Nottingham conducted a full digital survey that the true scale of the site emerged. Streets, courtyards, at least 15 buildings, a cemetery, a water management system, all sitting roughly 3 to 4 meters beneath the Aegean surface, dating back some 5,000 years. This was a working community, not a ceremonial site, not a fortress. People lived here. They stored grain. They buried their dead with intention. This leads us to a startling conclusion. The ancient world we study in textbooks represents only the portion that happened to stay above water. Not every lost city is underwater. Some are buried in plain sight. Shimao, in northern China's Shaanxi province, was assumed for decades to be a section of the early Great Wall. Locals knew the ruins. They simply didn't examine them closely. When archaeologists began proper excavations after 2011, they found a massive stepped pyramid beneath the eroded exterior, a structure roughly 70 meters tall, built around 4,300 years ago. The site included jade artifacts, sophisticated murals, and evidence of human sacrifice at the foundations. Shimao predates the Shang dynasty. It suggests a complex, organized power existed in northern China far earlier than the accepted timeline. What's unnerving isn't the discovery itself. It's that the pyramid was sitting there, partially exposed, for centuries. Nobody looked. The same quiet shock accompanies what lies beneath Bolivia's Llanos de Mojos, a vast Amazonian savanna that for generations seemed to confirm assumptions about pre-Columbian populations, small, dispersed, leaving little trace. Then, LiDAR surveys peeled back the tree canopy. Beneath it, a network of connected urban settlements emerged, causeways linking sites across hundreds of kilometers, sophisticated water management earthworks, dense residential zones. The largest site, Cotoca, appears to have been a regional center of considerable scale. The people who built it were Casarabe culture, active roughly between 500 and 1400 CE. They didn't leave written records, but they left an infrastructure that challenged every previous estimate of Amazonian complexity. It makes one wonder if the framing of certain civilizations as primitive was never really about evidence at all. Which brings us, finally, to Yonaguni, a monument off the coast of Japan's westernmost island that has generated more argument per square meter than almost any other submerged site on Earth. Discovered by a diver in 1986, it consists of massive flat-cut terraces, right angles, and what some researchers describe as steps all in stone, with its uppermost surface around 5 meters below the surface, rising from a depth of roughly 25 meters. Masaaki Kimura, a marine geologist at the University of the Ryukyus, spent years arguing it was man-made, possibly carved during a period when the site was above water over 10,000 years ago. Others insist the right angles are the result of natural fracturing in sandstone. The debate hasn't been resolved. What's certain is that the formations exist, that they're visually distinctive, and that the geological explanation, while plausible, doesn't fully satisfy everyone who has studied the site in person. 6 sites, 6 different continents and seas, all of them surfaced not through legend, but through technology that simply didn't exist a generation ago. LiDAR, sonar, satellite imaging. We aren't finding new things, we're finally developing the tools to see what was always there. Which raises the one question that no satellite image can answer. For every city we've recovered from the sand or the sea, how many are still waiting, in places we haven't thought to look? If you've come across a submerged or buried site that didn't make this list, drop it in the comments, because this map is nowhere near complete.